Hello, hello. I realized that my camera got bumped right after I had set everything up. So give me just a moment there. All right, we look good. Hello and welcome, my friends, to The Missing Force. This masterclass is really, really special to me and just kind of is a conglomerate of all of the things that I love and has really made me who I am today, brought me into the world in my business, in my creativity, in a way that, nothing else, no cookie cutter formula ever could. So, my hope today is that you are going to walk away with a sense of inspiration, with a sense of connection to yourself and to Mother Nature. And if you're a nerd like me, even a little more inspiration around the fun media that inspired so much of this presentation today. So, again, you are here for the Missing Force and Natural Wisdom for Entrepreneurs and Visionary Leaders. And before we even get in, I just want to say about that. This teaching, this class can apply to anyone in pretty much any situation to improve their life, to connect them with their values, to make their life more meaningful and just engaged, inspired, wholesome. That's what I want for you. I want you to live a life of joy and wonder. And that's what I'm here to support you in doing. So, whether you do have your own business, if you're an author, if you work a 9 to 5, it doesn't matter. There's something for you here that you can benefit from. I promise. So if you are tuning in live, please feel free to say hi in the chat at any point, and you are more than welcome to ask questions. There will be a Q&A time at the end, and I like to be very trauma informed and just very forward. I will be teaching a masterclass today. The masterclass will probably be about an hour, give or take. I will open Q&A at the end, and I will stay for as long as I'm not seeing questions coming in. And then I am going to let you know about some ways you can work with me moving forward at the end as well. So that's what we're going to get into today. Let's talk about our objectives. So what is this masterclass about? What can you expect to walk away from this knowing? So we're going to talk today about the Jedi Code and the Druid's Prayer, and some very fascinating overlaps between these two things. Hi, Ben. Nice to see you. What do the Force, Druidry, and mindfulness have in common? We're going to explore that. I'm going to talk a lot about mindfulness now. I want to say I'm a licensed trauma therapist. I have taken classes on mindfulness. I've gotten the education. You don't need education to go do mindfulness. It is something that's so accessible, and I'm going to break it down for you today in a way that you can hopefully start engaging with right away. We'll talk about harnessing nature's wisdom and ways to look at nature to enhance your life, business, lifestyle, etc. We'll talk a little bit about values. That's not the biggest part of this, but we'll talk a little bit about mindful values that you can bring into your lives to really enhance them. And then I'll bring everything together and we'll do some invitations, as I mentioned. So, again, thank you for being here. Again, please feel free to say hi in the chat, ask questions at any point, and if I'm going to get into them, I'll get into them when they come up in the presentation. If it's a completely side question, I'll probably save it to the end. So let's dive in. Before we get fully started, I just want to introduce myself so that you know who is presenting this masterclass and why I feel like I have the knowledge and the wisdom to offer this to you. So I am, as I said, an LCPC, a licensed clinical professional counselor. I have a master's degree in community mental health. So much of my focus is on creating healthier communities where everyone can be themselves and thrive as a part of a biodiverse ecosystem. My moniker is the Queer Spirit Guide. This name was given to me in community about 2 years ago, and it just fit. I believe everything in the world is a little bit queer, right? Different from everything else, because we're all one of a kind, and we get to reclaim ourselves when society's tried to fit us into boxes. So that's what my name means. I am a druid and a priestess. I took priestess vows in 2019, but I have been a practicing druid since 2007 and have learned with the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, as well as the American Order of Druids. And honestly, druidry is something that anyone can access. It's a love of our planet Earth, it's a love of animals, it is a love of all living beings, and the beautiful symbolism of the cosmos. And you don't have to be a particular religion or come from any tradition to be a druid. It's simply a way of life, as well as a spiritual tradition, and in some cases, religion. So I'm also a teacher. I have done adult continuing education. I have been a public school teacher. I love to teach master classes and workshops and things of that nature. But I do consider myself at a core level a teacher. Therapist. So I'm specialized in trauma. I really see the intersections of generational wounds and what's happening in our planet as well. So that's part of why I'm so passionate about bringing these topics forward. I am an international bestselling author and speaker, and I'm CEO of Living Luna. And then last but not least, because this is just, it's like the laundry list, I swear. I'm a transformational mentor as the queer spirit guide. So I help people get out of their own way so they can heck and slay. That's me. All right, let's talk about Star Wars, the shadow and light, druidry, and so many more incredible things. Let's dive in. So, first, I want to start by talking about shadow and light. In Star Wars, there are the Jedi and there are the Sith. And the Jedi are supposedly the good guys, and the Sith are supposedly the bad guys. But if you're like me and you've watched a lot of Star Wars, you start to realize, the lines are really blurry, and trying to fit things into absolutes never works. So there's actually even a quote from Star Wars, only a Sith deals in absolutes. We are meant to be beings flowing in and out of shadow and light, flowing in out of action and beingness, flowing in out of confronting things and retreating to look at them. We are constantly in this ebb and flow of shadow and light. And I could give a whole master class on just that. I'm not gonna go there today, because if I don't get away from this slide, we'll never stop. But this dichotomy of shadow and light, of the light side of the force, the dark side of the force, they're all here symbolically for a reason. And it's to learn how to encompass all that we are. So Obi-Wan explains in the Star Wars films that the force binds the galaxy together, that it is this energy field that encompasses all living things. And I will never forget, I was 18 years old. I had just picked up my first book on druidry after waking up from a dream and realizing I was a druid. Went to a local store, happened to find this book on druidry, and began reading it. And John Michael Greer, who I don't believe he's the head of the American Order of Druids anymore, but he was at the time. And he wrote in the book that Awen was similar to the Force, that it was this thing that flowed through everyone. And I was like, oh, I'm intrigued now. You mean I can be a Jedi in real life? Tell me more. So that's part of what I want to share with you today, is that the Druids believed in these internal forces and these external forces that we could tap into, that could enhance our life, that could make us more ourselves, and that could bring us into a place of more balance. Hence, we don't need to deal in absolutes. We get to have a balanced approach. So let's talk about the Jedi Code, or the Code of the Jedi. So these were the ancient, before Star Wars, modern Star Wars storylines are set, where there are the Jedi and the Sith. There was once upon a time in the ancient Star Wars lore, the Code of the Jedi, which were this other organization that predated the Jedi and Sith, that were far more balanced, that actually took the shadow and the light, or the dark side and light side of the force, and fused them together, seeing that we are all this encompassed whole. We're not just one thing or another thing. And so the code reads, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no fear, there is power. I am the heart of the force. I am the revealing fire of light. I am the mystery of darkness. in balance with chaos and harmony, immortal in the force. Now, just take a minute to really look at that. We have this pattern. There is no this, there is that. I am these forces, and I am in balance with chaos and harmony, immortal in the force. I think there's a lot we can take from this into our own lives, honestly, that we can pursue knowledge, we can learn more, and in that we can embrace our own internal power. We don't have to be afraid, and that we possess this energy in us, that the mystery is in us, and the light is in us. And that, yeah, there's chaos and harmony. Those things exist. Look around. Look around, right? These things exist everywhere. But our souls, who we are and who we're here to be, is immortal. Our soul is immortal. And this is really, really fascinating to me. You're going to see. Now, again, if you're a super nerd, you might have seen the code, the Jedi code or the Sith code before, and it kind of follows this, but it's one or the other. It's all light, all dark. But then here we have the Druids' prayer. Now, I don't know the exact history of when this was written, but I can tell you it predates Star Wars. But this is a Druid's prayer used to call in the powers that be during a ceremony and to kind of set the tone and intention for a ceremony. So I'm going to read this to you. The Druid's prayer. And you get to put whatever in the first line and the last line. You get to insert what you want. Grant, O great spirit, goddess, God, holy ones, thy protection, and in protection strength, and in strength understanding, and in understanding knowledge, and in knowledge the knowledge of justice, and in the knowledge of justice the love of it, and in that love the love of all existences, and in the love of all existences the love of great spirit, goddess, God, holy ones, the earth our mother, and all goodness. So, see anything interesting there? This is so similar to that code of the Jedi, and I can't help but wonder, like, was the lore writer who originally wrote that bit, were they a druid? Were they drawing on some things? Was George Lucas inspired by Druidry at all? I'm really, really curious. Yeah, Larkenna says, I love hearing about the lore of Star Wars. It's eerily similar to what we're experiencing now in terms of discovering ancient wisdom that's been twisted by people who really want control. Yes, so true. And so it's like, just getting curious here. What's this all about? Why is there this overlap? That's, of course, what I asked. And John Michael Greer, that druid, clearly saw the comparison between the Force in Star Wars and these more cosmic, real life forces that we can tune into here and now. So let's talk about those and how we can begin to call them in. So we have the Force from Star Wars, this all-encompassing energy field created by all living things that binds the galaxy together, and it allows people who are sensitive to the Force to tap into its power for heightened awareness, intuition, and other special abilities. I mean, if you've seen any Star Wars, you know that the Jedi have all kinds of cool tricks that they can do, right? Well, what about us? We have access through Druidic principles, whether you're a Druid or not, that this is accessible to everyone. 2 words I really want you to walk away with today: Awen and Nuavra. So Awen is literally the force of divine inspiration. It is a creative energy that flows through us, flows through spirit, or is invoked through chanting. In a lot of classic Druid rituals, the rituals have a chanting or an intonation of the Awen at the beginning to call in that creative force and really harness it for the ritual. So when we tune into the energy of Awen, what we're calling in is like our muse, our inspiration, that illuminated spiritual power within of what our voice is here to share. And it's all around us. It is the creative force of the universe, the power of creation. Nuavra is actually the life force energy, the thing that connects all living things. And so that's chi in some other, cultures, prana. These are sort of synonymous with the idea of Nuavra. So our ancient and indigenous ancestors really knew all of these things. They knew about life force, right? The whole breath work and harnessing of our prana through breath work is calling in and being in relationship with our life force energy. So the Druids just had a different word for it. And this is the golden thread that's tied through so many ancient traditions is how did we look at our energy? How did we look at the power of our life force and our soul and our spirit? And so in Druidry, Nuvra is that very life force, fundamental energy that all of us have to be here alive and breathing right now. And then finally, mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention in the present moment with purpose and without judgment so that we can actually have an awareness of what we think, what we feel, what's happening around us. Like all of that information needs to be taken in. And anything can be mindful. So I'm proposing today, really, that you get to connect in with these energies, that you get to embody the living force through Awen, this creative inspiration, and Nuvra, the knowledge that you are a living, breathing entity with a soul, with the force of life flowing through you. And how you begin to actually use these energies is through the power of mindfulness. Now, before we move into mindfulness and how to actually start to connect with these things, I really just want to say mindfulness became a buzzword. Uh, Gosh, I was getting my mindfulness therapy training in 2018, 2017, 2018. And by that point, yoga had really come here where I live in the United States, had really come to the United States around that time and become very mainstream. And with mindfulness and yoga and meditation, they all kind of became one thing. And I'll never forget teaching. I was teaching summer camp one year, and my class was called Elements. And every week we rotated, and I did another like a fire activity, an earth activity, an air activity, a water activity, and we would cycle. And one day we were doing meditation and mindfulness as a topic, and I asked all the kids all across the age ranges. I would teach like kindergarteners and then like fourth graders and fifth graders and second and third. And like we had all these different groups. And every single group, when I would ask them, what is mindfulness? What is meditation? All of them would put their little hands on their knees and they would sit crisscross applesauce and they would put their hands like this on their legs and they'd close their eyes and they'd go, Om. And it would crack me up that this is this like universal picture that had been adopted by them. Because that's absolutely like what everyone started to think that these concepts meant, but it's not exclusive to that. So I really just want to say, if you believe mindfulness has to be you sitting on a rock and meditating, you're in good hands, because I really struggle with like the classic style of meditation. There's so many ways you can meditate and there's so many ways you can be mindful. And I hope you walk away with some ideas today. So how do you take the force, Awen, Nuvra, mindfulness? How do you begin? What do you do to cultivate these things? So in order to really live in this balance, like find that balance between the light and the dark, you have to have joy, abundance, manifestation, and innovation. Okay. So I'm going to talk about each of these. And I say that these are must haves for a balanced work play relationship, because we all have to do some work to live, right? We have to eat. We have to have our basic shelter needs met, right? We have to work to figure out how to make those things happen. And then play can be whatever we want it to be. But many of us end up in these very lopsided situations where we're all work, no play. And that doesn't do anything for any of us. It doesn't keep us healthy. It doesn't keep us vibrant. It really is depleting and draining when we're all work. So we need to invite all of these energies into both our work and our play. Again, joy, abundance, manifestation, innovation. So I want to talk a little bit about each of these. Joy. When we tune into joy, we are tuning into literally the energy of play. We're tuning into the energy of, wow, this lights me up, right? And that lighting me up is inspiration. That lighting me up is the spark within that we can then take and channel or harness or utilize somehow, either for filling ourselves back up, because that's part of joy, or also pursuing that passion out in the world that is going to bring us in abundance, that's going to help us really tune in. Now, abundance. mm, I know so many of us are struggling right now on the financial side of abundance. I want to be really gentle around that because I know so many people in my community and even our family system is struggling more with the financial abundance than we have been in the past. And there's a lot of factors out in the world that are playing into that. But abundance can be an abundance of anything. It could be an abundance of joy. It could be an abundance of play. It can be an abundance of tasty food. It can be an abundance of friends. It can be an abundance of entertainment. But we have to tap into where things are abundant and really embrace those, feel into them. Because if we don't, we're depleted and we have no joy. So, joy and abundance are very tied in together here. The more you can experience joy, the more you can lean into the abundance of what you do have to hopefully work on manifesting more of it, more abundance, more joy. So, manifestation, I really, really like to teach it this way because this was presented to me by one of my teachers, Saoirse Claire McGovern, years ago, that many of us get things wrong when it comes to manifestation. We think it's like, if I picture hard enough that I'm going to get my perfect house will suddenly come along. Okay. The core ideas in manifestation often have to do with aligning one's mindset, aligning one's vibration or energy and emotions to the thing that they want to manifest or create. Accurate. That's one part of it. It's one half of it. We do have to align our thoughts, right? So the joy helps, the tuning into what's abundant helps, but the manifestation needs the other half, which is the aligned action. If we go back to the shadow and light, the manifestation part, the thinking and aligning the energy, is more in the shadow work. It's more in that subtle, subconscious, even less doing and more being in the state. The light side is the aligned actions, or the actualization is the word that mentor used. Actualization is taking actions out in the world to make something happen. When you have more joy, you have more energy reserves to be able to tune into that and to be able to go take the actions. And when we are consistently showing up for, okay, I'm aligning my energy with the thing that I want and my mindset and all of that, and now I'm going out and taking action, things start to really line up and the abundance can flow. So this is an essential piece. And then the last piece was innovation. We're not meant to be in restrictive lives that are, bound up tight and lacking the energy of expansion. If we think about even this universe, right? What do we know about our universe? Our universe is ever expanding. I see it as like we're constantly in growth. When we look out in nature, even though things go in cycles, they're always expanding to some extent. And that is the way of our lives. Our knowledge is expanding. Our joy, hopefully, is expanding. Our ability to have abundance, our ability to manifest are hopefully all expanding. And with expansion comes innovation. Innovation is being willing to try on new things. It's being willing to do something in a way that improves something or that expands our life experience. And all four of these things help us tune into that Awen, that creative force, and enhance our life force. So that Nuavra gets backed up too. And this is how we create. This is how we co-create with the universe. So to nurture these things, we can do mindfulness and meditation. We can do activities that spark that joy and creativity. We can spend time in nature. We're going to talk more about that today. We can really tune into our intuition and see what it's saying. And we can routinely and regularly reflect to make sure that we're living in alignment with our highest life force, with our highest creativity. Because as this quote says in the bottom corner, a body in burnout cannot offer abundantly to the world. When we are in burnout, we can't offer abundantly to the world. And I can't tell you how many people are in chronic levels of burnout, low levels of burnout, on the verge of burnout, right? Like I got burnt out 3 years ago, and there's still aspects I'm still recovering. It takes time, but we can't offer abundance outward until we have that abundance of health inward. So it's so important that we really revitalize these energies for ourselves. So let's talk about mindfulness. As I implied, all these kids sitting in my classroom with their hands on their legs doing the om. Mindfulness is not all meditating on a rock with your hands in your lap, breathing and clearing your mind or doing ohms. Literally anything you do, you can do mindfully. You can mindfully watch this program right now. I guarantee you, most of you watching, and there's no judgment in this whatsoever, because I participate in these things as a viewer too, right? Chances are at some point you've picked up your phone, or you looked at another tab, or you got distracted by something out the window. I was even distracted by the cat over here. A few moments ago, we get distracted. Totally normal. But mindfulness is being aware of that and choosing. Is this what I want to keep doing, or do I want to put my focus back over here? Oh, my focus went off again. Let me bring it back where I want it to be. Mindfulness is simply about being present right here, right now, and aware of what's happening in us, around us, near us, without judgment, ideally. The true definition of mindfulness, according to John Kabat-Zinn, is without judgment. But that's probably the hardest part for most of us, because then it's like the chatter starts of, oh, well, do I want to do this? Is this what I really need to be doing? Is this what I should be doing? Blah, blah, blah. So the judgment, very easy to kind of get layered in. But if we can just go, oh, I'm observing that I'm having this judgment, we've shifted it back into the mindfulness camp where we're just present with it. We're not getting carried away by it. This is literally how we tune into Awen, how we tune into Nura, and how it is flowing through us is by being mindful. So I really invite you, let's just take a moment here to be. This is a simple mindfulness activity that's also a nervous system regulation tool where you simply look around. So you can look up, look to, the right and the left, look down, look behind you. When you are doing this, you can't be doing anything else really. I mean, the mind can wander some, but if you're actually noticing what's here, it tells your nervous system, I'm not in danger. I don't have to run from a tiger. I call that the no tiger twist, because I'm here. You can mindfully look at any object. You can touch things and you can see how the light glints off of them. You can tap on them. You can listen to them. You could taste them. I'm not going to do that. But you can use all of your senses to engage mindfully simply by being here in the moment. So you can do literally anything mindfully. That is what number one thing I want you to walk away with from today. And that helps you begin to tune in to your life force energy or nuvra and Awen, the inspiration, the creativity, what's possible that I could create here. And there's no one way to be creative. Let me just say that too, right? You can do anything creatively. So why is mindfulness so important? If you do happen to be a business owner out here, gosh, the studies for mindfulness are wild. First of all, the impact that mindfulness has on our brains is tremendous. We can literally repair our brains through mindfulness. We've seen massive gray matter increase in people's brains who are doing routine mindfulness because it's engaging and building up those connections again and actually rejuvenating the physical brain. It's wild stuff. But if you're a business owner, if you're an author, again, I know I have a lot of different careers in my audience, but no matter what you're doing, being more mindful can help you make better decisions. And I really want to say productivity, I am anti hustle, anti grind, all that BS culture. But productivity, again, we are here to produce in some capacity, but not for the capitalistic purposes. We're here to produce, to be in community with one another, and to express our souls. So when you layer in mindfulness, your decision making power goes through the roof. You're able to do more in the ways that you want with the time that you have. You're able to lead from a more compassionate place because you have really worked on that non-judgment muscle and just like, oh, noticing what's here, right now, not getting whisked away into the past or the future. And innovation comes in with mindfulness, right? It's literally like these moments, looking at the crystal and just like literally being here. And then all of a sudden the idea pops in your head that's like, oh my gosh, what if I did this? Right. And it's because you're giving yourself the spaciousness for innovation instead of being stuck in the like, I need to do it the way it's always been done, the way it was done in the past. And of course, being more mindful helps us with work life balance or self care balance, whatever that needs to look like, because we're more aware of what's going on in my body. Am I feeling well? Am I feeling exhausted? Am I feeling depleted? Am I feeling rejuvenated? Am I feeling inspired? We only know those things if we're actually like checking in with ourselves, and we often don't check in with ourselves. So, again, mindfulness enhances pretty much every area of our lives, brings uh, literal weight back into the brain, rejuvenates our health by bringing us what's called interoception. We can enhance our interoception muscle by being mindful, which interoception is inter us and deception, sensing into what's happening in us. And many of us have numbed our interoceptive abilities because we've constantly had to look out here. What's the expectation? Yeah. So glad this is resonating. So let's talk a little bit about just a super quick, like, how do you disrupt when you're in that judgmental flow? How do you disrupt when you're starting to kind of get carried away and like you have to come back to yourself? I love acronyms. So stop, full stop. When we are swirling, when we don't know how to move forward, when we're stuck in the future or the past, we need to stop. Stop what we're doing and create space. So this could literally look like stepping outside, um, for a second to get some fresh air. It could be change of scenery, hopping in the car. It could be going into another room. Like literally, we need to stop what we're doing when we're getting whisked away into the future or the past, when we're having, anxiety, when we're feeling hopeless. It's time to stop and take that step back to create the space. Then we take a break, we take stock. So we actually go, what is happening right now? Like, okay, what's happening right now inside me? Oh, I'm feeling the swirl of anxiety in my chest. My belly feels hot or tight. I'm so worried about this thing that's coming down the pike. Like, okay, breathe again. And then we can start to observe and open to possibilities. Okay, what are the different ways I could handle this? Well, I certainly could keep panicking. I could reach out for help. I could journal about this in my notebook and see if creative ideas come in. I could heck it out, which is what my cat is doing. Like, we can literally uh, open the possibility of working something out in a physical way instead of inside of us. There's so many possibilities of what we can do. Then we proceed with awareness. Okay, here are all of my options. How do I want to proceed? What's the feeling I'm calling in? What's the tangible result I want? And what's the choice that's going to get me there? So, this is a simple flow. And I love acronyms because they can be easy to remember. So, stop what you're doing, take a breath, observe and open to the possibilities, and proceed. This is a super simple, like basic level way to remember how do we get out of our spiral and mobilize to other possible routes, other possible ways of navigating this. And the answer is to stop what we're doing so that we can assess and do these things. So I want to talk a little bit before we move on about ideas you can try for mindfulness. Of course, you can use the stop method if you're swirling, but we want to build these muscles. Self-care is something we do proactively versus like triage, right? You're already triggered, you're already panicking, you're already in your depression. And now it's like, oh, I really have to do something to get myself out of it. Self care is proactive. So you can do mindful self care proactively to build that muscle so that it becomes easier when you are feeling drained, you're feeling depleted, you're feeling stuck, that you remember, oh, right, can I use some of these other tools? If you've never been mindful before, it's going to be nigh on impossible to be mindful when you're activated. So, what can you do that would be considered mindfulness? Intention setting. Every single moon circle that I host, which I host 2 a month, we set an intention for the weeks ahead because this is being in the present moment, being aware, being not judgmental in that like negative judgy way, but in that like, what can I do? What do I want kind of way? You're making a judgment about what you want. And then writing that down really anchors it in that present moment. And so that can be mindful. What am I calling in? Let me set an intention. You can have a mindful coffee or tea, literally any beverage, literally anywhere. This is why I love redefining mindfulness for people because I can take a mindful sip of my water. And I can take a breath. I can feel the water on my tongue. And, as it goes down my throat, I can feel the rejuvenation, the hydration. And because I'm focused on that, I'm being mindful in the present moment about what I'm actually doing. So, noticing the smell of your beverage, the feeling of it in your hands, all of that can be mindfulness. It's bringing you back here right now. Breathing. Breathing can be mindful. Some really quick ideas. You can do triangle breathing where you breathe in, you breathe out, and then you hold. And you trace this triangle. And you can do that. Of course, you can trace it in your mind. You can do it with a hand. That's bringing you even more into the tangible, physical, somatic felt sense. You can do square breathing where it's breathe in, hold at the top, breathe out, hold at the bottom. I just like to give the information that anytime you hold your breath at the top, so you've breathed in and you hold, that actually activates your nervous system. It makes your heart rate go up. So it's actually better to hold your breath at the bottom for a moment if you're trying to down regulate and calm yourself down. A gratitude pause, right? You can be grateful about just about anything. I am so grateful to have clean running water. Oh my gosh, am I so grateful to have clean running water. I'm not going to go down the path of telling all the side stories, but I did have an incident once where I didn't have running water for several days. And when I got back to where I could take a shower, I had never been more grateful in my life. So you can be grateful for anything. You can be grateful for the clothing that you're wearing. You can be grateful for the roof above your head. You can be grateful for the thing that you got to do or the person you got to see today. Just anything that tunes you into that joy and abundance that we talked about earlier. That gratitude is really taking your joy and your abundance and kind of fusing them together to remind yourself here in the moment to be aware that you possess those things that you have to be grateful for. Mindful eating. I wish this was taught more. A lot of us have GI and digestive issues for lots of reasons, including trauma and poor diet, because there's fillers in literally like every food that we get now, unless you know where it comes from and it's a whole food. And on top of that, many of us rush to eat because we've got to get on that meeting, we've got to get on the road. When I was a teacher, I was literally like eating my McDonald's egg and cheese bagel every morning on the road, trying to get it in my mouth before I would get to school and have to go in and start setting up for the day. So I really know what it's like to be in that rush mode and taking a 5-minute lunch break because there's kids in the room or whatever. Like, If we chew our food, if we slow down, if we enjoy our food more, that's what it takes to be mindful about eating. We do digest better, we enjoy our food more. So, literally, just slowing down a little bit when you eat is huge. Nature connection, that's where we're going to go next, is like really talking about lessons from nature. But nature connection can look like anything you want. It can be walking outside barefoot, it can be looking at the trees, it can be uh, going somewhere beautiful in nature. If you can't go outside, it can even be connecting with a video online of beautiful nature, watching a nature documentary. But being connected and mindful about nature connects us with that web of life and really tunes us into a greater sense of connection. Body scanning, that's literally just what's happening in me right now. I have a little bit of a tension right here in my shoulder and upper chest. So I'm just noticing that, what's going on? And maybe we make contact. It's being aware, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What is happening right here now in this present moment? Mindful listening sounds like what it sounds like. Listening to the sounds outside, listening to a podcast or an audiobook or this, just listening and being present to what's coming in my ears. What is the sensation of listening to this? Is it pleasant? Is it tingly? Is it this? Is it that? Right? Getting curious. What's happening? Spatial awareness, that no tiger twist, is a great spatial awareness mindfulness. What is here around me right now in this present moment? Taking stock of that, looking around. And then mindful reflection. So journaling, taking some moments to observe what you're feeling right here, right now, and, allowing yourself to reflect on that. Again, anything you can do mindfully. There's so much beautiful experiences to have in the world. So many beautiful experiences to have in the world. And it's about being present to actually enjoy them. So let's talk a little bit about nature. Now, there's a whole ebook. If you signed up for this online, you should have also gotten mailed the ebook. There's a lot more about this in there. I'm just going to kind of hit the main points today. But nature symbolism is accessible to all of us. Even if you live in no man's land, you can see the sun and moon theoretically when the weather is nice, and that can be a way to tune into nature. But there are so many lessons in nature about mindfulness, and so many lessons in nature that we can apply to our business and our lifestyle. So I would love if you would just consider, what two of these could I begin to contemplate and get more curious about in my life, so that I become that much more like nature, that I tune in that much more to nature. So, cyclical planning means honoring the seasons, not just the seasons outside, but the seasons in your life. Your life should not look the same 24/7, month in after, day in, day night, month after month. It should not look exactly the same, because that means there's no expansion, there's no innovation, there's probably not much joy, because again, those energies are all interconnected. So honoring your season. Diversity is huge. How can you bring in more diversity into your life, whether it's diverse income streams, diverse friend groups, diverse media, diverse approaches? It does not matter, but diversity is essential in nature. And so it needs to be essential in our lives too, because we are nature. Interconnectedness, whether that's interconnectedness in business networking groups, a meetup group, an online community, a literally anywhere where you are connected with other living beings. It could be volunteering with animals, but interconnectedness with other living beings gives us that sense of life and rejuvenation. So if you are running a business, it's like, how do you make sure that these things are parts of your business? How's your business interconnected with others? Adaptability, flexibility. It's been fascinating to see how the asparagus plants that we're growing uh, respond to different natural elements rolling through, pests, weather systems, etc. One of the asparagus actually grew down into a hook and then came back and spiraled up, and it's growing its fronds upward again. I thought I was going to have to break this guy off because I didn't think it was going to be able to grow, but I gave it more time. And sure enough, it adapted to the conditions. It was flexible. It literally flexed itself to adjust to the changing conditions because it got kind of frost shocked. Resource management. I think a lot of us are in this place right now. We're looking out in the world and we're like, okay, let me manage my resources a little bit more with trust and faith that eventually we're going to be in abundant times again, or we're working towards that goal. But how do you make sure that you have enough for yourself and aren't in a scarcity mindset either? So we do have to manage our resources somewhat. Renewal. You have to have times to renew your energy. You have to have times to tune in and create balance and manage your energy. All of that, the renewal, balance, and energy management all go hand in hand here. So, scheduling time for yourself to rest. That's winter for the plants for the most part. There are some that are not, but most plants are renewing their roots during the winter time. They're just resting because they have this long-term balanced success of growing over time through the other seasons. And their energy is managed in that way, and that they're taking in certain nutrients at different times, and they're soaking up sunlight and rainwater at different times. Like there's so many lessons to learn about how we take in energy just by looking outside. Natural timing. There's very few things in life that can be rushed and be meaningful. Things take time. Life takes time. Growing takes time. So look out at the trees and the flowers and think about where they were 3 months ago. All things take time. And then, of course, cycles. Recognizing the death and life and shadow and light and ebb and flow of what nature does. We are going to go through lots of death and rebirth cycles in our own life. So just important to remember. And then we have our sun and our moon. And these are, like I said, the things that probably no matter where we live, even if we don't have green access, we have the sun and the moon. And the lessons that the sun and moon have to teach us are pretty straightforward. Shine consistently, right? Show up each day in your life and be mindful and present. Channel that awen, that creativity, and tune into that nuivra, your life force, and nurture your growth. Be a beacon. That's what the sun has to teach us. And I think that I'm a gal that works with the moon quite a bit. So I love the moon wisdom of embracing cycles and reflecting and adapting and appreciating our different phases. But it is important to remember that the sun is the light, the consistency, whereas that moon symbolism is more the shadow. It's the ebb and the flow, the in and the out. So the sun rises and sets every day. It sort of spreads out over the seasons, whether it's, lighter or darker and the sun is out for longer or not. But every day the sun rises and sets and we see it. Even if it's behind a cloud, right? You can tell that it's there because it's lighting up the world. The moon has the dark phase and the bright phase and the quarter phases and the crescent phases. And it's consistent in how it moves through those, but it's much more rapid that we see these different phases and changes, whereas the sun looks far more consistent. We need both of those energies in our life. We need some things that are always changing and exciting and dynamic, and some things that are always the same and consistent. So both of those energies being pulled in and balanced, I think, are so important. And then our seasons. This is stuff, again, that each of these topics can be their own class. So if there is anything you'd like me to really talk about or teach more about, please let me know. And as always, just a reminder here, you are welcome to drop questions in the chat. But spring. So I am currently at a place where spring is actually happening. We're in the midway point between spring and summer. So this is the time for growth and innovation. We can look at this in two ways. Everything in life has its season. So if you're running a business, if you're writing a book project, if you are planning something in your life, you might be in a quote unquote spring season mentally, emotionally, spiritually within yourself. You also might be experiencing spring outside of your window. They can go hand in hand. And I find that in the overarching storyline of my life, My energetic times and my creative times do tend to follow the actual seasons happening outside, but then there's also mini seasons happening within projects or within something I'm working on in my life. So I want you to look at it in that macro way of the actual seasons outside, and then also the micro way of how you might be cycling through the seasons in your own life. The key thing here being that you are not stuck in one season in your life, because society wants us to constantly be in summer, where we're constantly at our peak performance and we're constantly expanding. And in business, we're seeing the money. That's what spring looks like in business. So if you think about capitalism, capitalism wants it to be summer all the time. And that means that winter and autumn and spring are lost or swept under the rug. And that does not create a balanced, happy lifestyle for us. So summer is when we're actually at the height of something that we're working on. Energy is full. After we had that springtime of like, I'm planning, I'm thinking about, I'm innovating, I'm doing my research, I'm launching some things, like I'm doing all of these activities to lead into that high productivity. And again, I really want to emphasize productivity does not have to be hustle and grind. It can be your own version, your own soul aligned success, as I call it. Autumn is when we are reaping the rewards. We are getting the results. We are harvesting and we're evaluating what needs to change. What am I going to do differently? Where am I going next? And then winter is that deep reflection and the deeper planning stage where we're not taking much action, but we're sure daydreaming and we're resting and we're integrating all of the things that we've learned so that we can enter that spring phase again where we innovate and we change up and we grow. So all of these seasons can be applied to pretty much anything in your life. Heck, if you're planning a wedding, right, you're going to need that time. Maybe you even start with winter to reflect and plan, and then you start to put everything together, and that's the spring phase, and you're innovating about what you're going to do and who you're going to invite. And then you have the peak performance. You have the summer of the actual event and you have all of these beautiful experiences, and then the autumn is the harvest. Now you're married and you get to reflect on everything that happened and evaluate where you're going next, right? Well, you could apply this to anything. So I want to just briefly touch on values because I think that they're so important. And I want to say, if you do run your own business, you have a very unique opportunity to build from your values, whereas you might not have the opportunity to build from your own values if you're working for another employer, but you still can live by your values and you can still call them in. So imagine your business or your life or your project as a living, breathing entity that is connected to you and that new over a life force. And you get to harness the power of that Awen, that creative force, to root your values into the world and anchor into them deeply so that you can grow and flex and thrive. So here are some ideas for values that might help your business or help you be a more mindful consumer or just build a lifestyle that's more meaningful. So these are like the key core values that I wish every human had in common, even if it was just a couple off of this list, but some people are struggling with these. You don't have to have all of these as a high value, but how might you invite them in more? Or are there ones that you really are like, oh, I really want to live more by this, but I just haven't been? So authenticity means honoring who we really are and encouraging others to do the same. Sustainability is about things that can keep going and maintain themselves so they don't deplete. And this is huge as a consumer too. How do we choose things that are going to be more sustainable for us? If we're running a business, how do we create a business practice that's not going to burn us out after a year? Creativity, of course, calling in that Awen, embracing the innovation and bringing our thinking. This is a really weird time with AI because AI is a great tool, but it can also begin to sap our own creativity when we outsource our creative power into the tech, into the digital sphere. So, how do we make sure that we're bringing our original thinking into our own work? Compassion, of course, is just extending kindness and understanding to others, whether that's our clients, ourselves, or the wider world. Having integrity is all about aligning with our values, even when it's challenging. So, sticking to our integrity can be really challenging when we're confronted with outside stuff. But when we can hold that value, it really empowers us. Collaboration can be a value of, working with other people and making sure that everybody is uplifted in that process. Growth as a value looks like continuing to value that expansion, that learning, that evolution, and bringing that into our businesses, our personal lives. Empowerment. Oh, this is the one. If we could all remember it and all tune into it, we'd be in a very different place. That we can choose our lives, that we can realize our potential, that we can make a positive impact. So many of us believe we have no power, and that's really sad. So, how can we enable ourselves and others to really be empowered? Balance. Again, I talked a little bit earlier about that work-play balance, and if you're all work, no play, you're not going to feel balanced. You're not going to feel good. We need that rest. We need time for reflection. And then diversity. Diversity is such an important value when it comes to leading really just meaningful and joyful lives. So, weaving your values, I just want to say, if this is a side note for business owners, you can read all of this in the book later if you want. But if you are a business owner, remember your values can literally be the building blocks for your business, because if you clearly articulate them and you make your decisions through them, you use them in your messaging and marketing pillars, and you check in with them quarterly to make sure your business is meeting them, you're going to be a lot happier. And I'll leave it there for now. So let's bring all of this together. We've talked about Druidry, we've talked about Star Wars, we've talked about mindfulness and values. The force mindfulness for life or business alignment. And I'll just say here, one of the things I'm going to share with you in a bit is a workshop to actually come experience this whole flow. But as I said, I love acronyms. I developed this one to kind of bring all of these energies together and approach life in a way, an issue in a way where you're really diving in and you're not just looking at yourself and your values, but you're also connecting to the world. So the force involves focusing, observing, reflecting, connecting, and engaging. So the focus is literally using the mindfulness, breathing, tuning into this moment. Then observing is going within, scanning that inner landscape, noticing what's happening within us without judgment. And then we reflect. We take our observations and we consider, what's my short-term and long-term goal, whether personally or in my business? What are the visions I have, the challenges and the opportunities that are here? And what's most important to me right now? What can I maybe let go of that's not so important? And then we connect. We imagine that we are connected not just to ourselves, but to the world around us, to clients, to friends, to community members. And we think about the impact of what decisions we could make and what those decisions might do out in the world. Are they going to have a positive impact, a negative impact, a neutral impact? And when we're connected to that, when we're connected to everyone else, when we're no longer seeing it just from our own lens, we actually have the capacity to make such greater impact. So then we engage, we set that intention for our next action. What is one empowered step I can do to move forward in my vision? So again, if you got the ebook, this is all in there for you. We'll be dropping links in the chat too, in case you need those here at the end. But this is a simple flow, just like stop. Stop is more for when you're triggered and it's like, oh my gosh, I need to full-blown stop and step back and take a breath because I'm already activated. This mindfulness flow is about, you're already feeling good. You're in an empowered state. You have some big decisions to make. You're going to go in and you're going to think through things and meditate or be mindful with them in this way. So together we have learned the overlaps between Star Wars, Druidry, and mindfulness, and how, like a Jedi, you can tune into the forces within to amplify your impact through your values, through being mindful, through taking care of yourself. And we've seen that inner wellspring of creativity. that Awen force that is all around us, and the life force energy of Nuavra that all of us possess. And this is our unique gift in the world. This is our energy. We've explored lots of different mindfulness things and how that can revolutionize our decision making. It can boost positive productivity, right? Because it's going to be coming from an aligned, balanced place, not judgment, not fear, not shame. And we've tuned into the elements of nature and how that can be an inspiration and our greatest teacher. And then we've talked about the power of our values. And oh my gosh, we got here in exactly an hour. So thank you if you're still with me. We're going to be moving right into Q&A here in just a moment. But as a final takeaway, the force, Awen and Nuavra plus mindfulness equals the mastery of your creative and life force energy. You have the capacity within you to take these little bits and pieces and begin to apply them in your life, whether it is just going outside in nature, whether it's tuning into that energetic Awen, whether it is embracing your creativity in a new way. There are so many different ways you can empower yourself to move forward. So, as you continue to digest what we've gone over today, I invite you to integrate. So, how can I begin to weave some of these practices and ideas into my life, whether it's monthly, weekly, daily routine? But start small, be patient, and allow yourself. You can reflect, regularly check in with yourself. Are you aligning with your values? Are you honoring your life force and taking care of it? And of course, being compassionate. So, that is the key to everything, being kind and compassionate to yourself as you are implementing changes. So you do not have to walk this path alone. If you want to see more, you can give me a visit at livinglunas.com, safrianna.com, follow our YouTube at Living Luna, or check out the blog. I'm all over creating content and always love taking questions and creating whatever you need. So, as we wrap up today, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this. I hope that you feel inspired to connect with nature more, to see how your own favorite like fandoms cross over with real life, maybe what they teach you about mindfulness or what their symbolism brings to you. If you have a question, I would love if you would pop it in the chat. And otherwise, if you have no questions, again, thank you. At this point in time, I'm going to share a little bit more about how you can work with me while I'm waiting to see if any questions come through. And otherwise, again, thank you so much for tuning into this today. I very much appreciate your time and hope that you feel inspired. So yes, please pop those questions in the chat if you have any. Otherwise, let me just share. I mentioned that there was a workshop. I only briefly went over the force flow today, but I am hosting a 2-hour workshop. This is on June 2nd. It's a Monday evening, and it's going to be from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And for coming to this masterclass today, you can join me for that 2-hour workshop for $11. So the code is right there, Force 11. This is going to be part meditation. You'll be doing some guided journaling. And then there will be time. It's going to be in a Zoom room. It is not recorded because it's private. I don't record any private events, but we'll have that time for sharing our next empowered steps in community and really connecting with the forces of nature and the elements in that workshop. So I'm super looking forward to that and hope you'll consider joining me for that. And then if you are unfamiliar with it, I just want to share a little bit about the butterfly method. The butterfly method is a self-paced program that I have that uses the 4 steps. I consider it 4 steps of the butterfly's journey from being a caterpillar into the chrysalis to coming out of the chrysalis and trying to shake out the wings to actually being able to fly. And this framework, this method can be used and applied to any area of your life. I have used this method repeatedly to navigate creative blocks, codependency, overworking, all kinds of things. So if you are interested in that, you are welcome to go check out livinglunas.com/butterfly. And then last but not least, if you are just like, I want to know how I can work with you, please feel free to go to my TidyCal and schedule a 15-minute call so we can see how we might work together. So Thank you so much. Oh, you're so welcome, Ben. I am really glad to be an inspiration and do what I do. I like this is I'm in my turning point phase where I'm only teaching what really lights me up and, just sharing what is most on my heart and my mind to share with the world. And that is stepping into this druidry even more. And I sent out a newsletter just the other day about leaving the broom closet and finally owning all of this nature wisdom and connection that I have because I really do believe it benefits us. Thank you. Incredible masterclass. So much applicable wisdom. Thank you. Yeah, like if there's nothing else that you're walking away with from today, just that knowingness that mindfulness is not just sitting on the rock and doing the ohms. It can be mindfully drinking your water. It can be mindfully looking at a crystal. Mindful walking, I didn't mention, one of my favorites. Mindful walking looks like going out for a walk, but you pay attention, you slow it down, and you feel the feet on the earth, and you breathe, and you feel the feet on the earth, and you feel the connection to the system beneath you. And it's simple. Um, oh, thank you, Bobby, for being here. I so appreciate you all. So I'm going to stop talking for about 30 seconds here and see if anyone else has any questions. Otherwise, I'm so grateful for all of you. And if you have a topic you want me to cover in the next masterclass, let me know. All right. I think no one has any questions, which hopefully meant that I told you everything you needed to know today, but we're all perfectly imperfect. So if you have follow-up questions, if you have anything else that you want to ask me about, anything you want me to teach about, you can email me. I'm going to pop my email on the screen for everyone. It's guide@safrianna.com. This is the best way to get in touch with me. So if you are trying to personally reach out, you need a link, you have a topic, you want to give me some feedback, please feel free to email me at guide@safrianna.com. It's the best way to get in touch with me. And yeah, thank you, everyone. All right. Well, we'll call it there. Let me know if you need anything else, my beautiful friends. And otherwise, I'll see you back here for another live. I'm usually live on YouTube at least once a week. So please feel free to give me a follow there if you have not already. And otherwise, until next time, my friends. Bye for now.